Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel and overpowered tanks. Yes, it has been it's been a while since I have made one of these videos. Now, I do like to keep on top of the overpowered list because sometimes it changes. You know, sometimes Wargaming adds tanks to the game, and they may take their place. So you never know. I could do this video every single year, and they could be the same tank every single year. It all depends on what Wargaming decide to add into the game. So we're going to go with the top 5 list, and of course, it has to be there. The Smasher. The Smasher has pretty much taken its place. It's the overpowered list, the top 5 overpowered tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. I believe that the Smasher will always be in that top 5. Fair enough, it's probably dropped down the list. When it first come out, it might have been number 1, but when you could do shots like this, no problem whatsoever, then it has to be there. This changes the outcome of games with one shot. With the Alpha, with the penetration that it's got, with the armor that it's got, this always has to be in that top 5. Whether it be the 5th, the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or maybe even number 1, it definitely is in that top 5 list. Now, that is a juicy tier 8 tank that we would just 1,000 hit points. See you later. So that has to be in the top 5. Also in the top 5, pretty much the same as the Smasher, it is the Annihilator. And again, some people prefer the Annihilator over the Smasher. I think the Smasher is more fun than the Annihilator. But if you can run double Annihilator, then it's almost, not quite 100% guaranteed, but almost a guaranteed victory. And with this tank as well, you can run it with a Smasher and Annihilator. They are both equally as fun. So I don't think, my personal preference, I prefer the Smasher, but again, I know a lot of you do prefer the Annihilator over the Smasher. Again, it's got a little bit of armor, it's got the 3 shells, it's got the speed boost. Yeah, I think Wargaming were kind of drunk when they made this tank. We knew that there was a Hellsing. The Hellsing at the time was overpowered, and once upon a time, the Hellsing and the Dracula were both on my OP list. They've just been wiped out. The Annihilator has taken over the Hellsing, and the Hellsing now is not a very special tank because there is such thing as an Annihilator. So the Hellsing, a 2-shot double-barrel gun. At the time, we've never seen it before. We'd never, ever seen a double-barreled gun in World of Tanks Blitz until the Hellsing was introduced. And at the time, it was overpowered. It was overpowered. And then Wargaming decided to add a 3-shot. And not only that, but the accuracy on all shots pretty much stays the same as well. The dispersion, sorry. So if you shoot all 3 shots, if you're staring at one particular part of a tank, all 3 shots are likely to hit around about the same part. Whereas the Hellsing doesn't have that. You shoot once and the second shell just goes anywhere it wants to. That is not the same with the Annihilator. It's kind of OP. And again, just like the Smasher, it is always going to be in this top 5 most overpowered tanks. Next up, it is a new addition, and it is the Ritter. I have to add this. The Waffle is a fantastic tank anyway, but the Ritter, 3,500 DPM for a tier 9 for what it is. Absolutely fantastic. For this thing, for a 460 alpha, 7 seconds on the reload. And that is without the adrenaline. You use the adrenaline, you can get that down to around 7 seconds, maybe just a bit lower than 7 seconds. It is an absolutely amazing tank and one of the best additions this year. And to the fact that you could get this for free. Now, I knew it was going to be strong. As soon as they showed it as a clan tank, I expected the clan reward tank to be strong, just like the 50 TP. So as you can see there, using the adrenaline, 6.5 seconds. It is a beast of a tank, and again, a lot of people would have got this tank for free or minimum a couple of K gold, like minimum. So definitely deserved in my top 5 list, and that is the Ritter. Moving on to, so that's 3 tanks. The 4th tank in my most overpowered list, I had to add this tank, the Object 2684. Now, the gun on this isn't the best. The gun isn't the best, but if you're used to playing the Object 268, you would know that the armor isn't great, but it does have troll armor. It has troll armor, where this is just great. The armor is absolutely fantastic. However, the gun isn't so good, but the fact that you can just stare at the enemy and they will struggle to penetrate you, it says something with a tank destroyer. If you start angling in this tank, then that is when the armor becomes a lot weaker. So the main goal in driving this tank is to face your enemy, to face them directly, because as soon as you start to turn, then they will be able to pen you. So this is what we're doing here. You can see we just fluffed that shot. We had to go for the shot, but in that meantime, we almost blocked everything that comes our way. So within seconds, excuse me, within seconds, we've got 1,300 block damage. And these are from TDs. Another one there. There's 3 TDs on the enemy team. And we are just blocking. That's 1,700 block damage. And this thing is one of the most frustrating tanks to come up against. You can pen it. If you switch to premium rounds and you aim, you can pen it. But the fact that you have to really, really aim, it says something about the tank. And again, we get another nice bounce there. So this is number 2 on my top 5 most overpowered tanks. Now, I'm going for this tank for number 1 currently. And the fact that it's a tech tree tank, anybody is going to be able to grind this tank. I don't see Wargaming nerfing this tank soon. Anytime soon, but I do feel that they will nerf it. It is the Type 71. It's an amazing tank. And again, I don't want anyone to rage in the chat, oh, now you're saying this Wargaming will nerf it. They don't go by hearsay. They go by stats. So I do think eventually Wargaming will nerf this tank. The fact that it's got that equipment that you can change the tank completely. You can change it into a medium just by using that equipment. Or you keep it as a heavy. Your traverse won't be as quick, but you can have 9 degrees of gun depression instead of the 6. If you don't want the 9 degrees of gun depression, you can have the 6, and it is more maneuverable, literally. I need to point out with this bit of the video, I don't know why I'm not shooting this K91. I tend to forget that there's a door right here, but I was just focused on trying to get that shot on that E100. But this tank, if you stay still, people will be able to penetrate you. They'll be able to switch to the APCR or the heat, and they will be able to penetrate your front plate very, very easy. But if you just wiggle your tank, it does become a lot stronger and a much more difficult pen for these guys to penetrate you. If you over angle, then you tend to bounce quite a lot. If you sort of side scrape, over angle, just wiggle. You need to wiggle and jiggle, then you will start to get more bounces in this tank. So far we've bounced 660 damage, and again, you just need to wiggle like we're doing here, and when you wiggle like that, you are able to bounce a lot more. So this is why it is a strong tank. It's a medium killer. You can just delete enemy medium tanks. You can bounce anything that comes in front of you, and you can deal a lot of damage. So I'd love to know what you think is in your top 5 most overpowered tanks in the game. So this video, there is 3 new tanks in this list. Obviously, the Smasher and the Annihilator is always going to be there regardless of what anyone thinks. They are always going to be on this list. But the Type 71 is a new addition, the Ritter is a new addition, and the Object 2684 is a new addition. So let me know what you think is the most overpowered tank in the game. I'd love to know what you think compared to what I think. And again, this is just what I think. It doesn't mean that this is the most overpowered tank in the game. This is just what I think is the most overpowered tank in the game. And again, I'd love to know your opinions. And see what you think. See what ones you agree with, see what ones you don't agree with, and any other choices on your list. And of course, people could add things like the TOG, because the TOG's amazing. Or they could add tanks like the Kennyotsu. you might want to add the Kennyotsu because it was OP, the DPM on a tier 3, but I think the Kennyotsu is just, it's easy to deal with. Yes, it's got great DPM for what it is, but it's easy to deal with. Most of these tanks are not so easy to deal with. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all very soon. Bye-bye.